It's as if you gave an AI program the first few chapters of a philosophy 101 high school textbook, the cliff notes of William Shakespeare's plays, a middle school history book on the Roman Republic and Empire, along with some already AI-generated Windows screensavers, and a scoop of the pretentious talking points of an obnoxious cinema fan on film Twitter, and you would have Megalopolis, and an exercise in patience. It is an AI-generated flaming trash pile of a movie. So let's go ahead and move on to my review for Megalopolis, chap. So the lead up to the release of Megalopolis, I can't even say it. I can't even say that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, chat. The lead up to the release of Megalopolis has been a circus, to say the least. Francis Ford Coppola, Franny Coppola as I prefer to call him now, has been trying to make this movie for 40 years, nearly 50 years. And apparently, ever since finishing up Apocalypse Now, that's how long he's been thinking about making this movie. Though he might have even been thinking about it, developing it before then, depending on, what he says about it at any given day. It's been his passion project, his vanity project for years. And, he's tried to make it, several times throughout the decades to no avail. Apparently all the studios, turned him down because they couldn't make head or tails of the movie, the concept, and viewed it as too much of a risk to be made, and even said it was nonsensical. So decades later, Franny sold some of his wineries, invested most of his fortune into making this movie, financing it for $120 million plus, along with marketing costs. On top of that, showed it to distributors who couldn't make heads or tails of it. They didn't want it. And nothing but controversy and infamy has surrounded the film up until its release. From deceptive and laughable trailers featuring AI quotes that are just made up, to Coppola forcing himself on his female extras and actors, and just everything else in between. But I've finally seen this movie, a movie that took 50 years to make, and I'm going to give you the blunt, honest truth of it, and end this preamble now. This is one of the worst films of the year, if not the decade, and probably the worst film of Franny Coppola's entire career. It's as if you gave an AI program the first few chapters of a philosophy 101 high school textbook, the cliff notes of William Shakespeare's plays, a middle school history book on the Roman Republic and Empire, along with some already AI-generated Windows screensavers, and a scoop of the pretentious talking points of an obnoxious cinema fan on film Twitter, and you would have Megalopolis, and an exercise in patience. It is an AI-generated flaming trash pile of a movie. It feels as if Franny Coppola just waddled onto set in any given day and just spewed a stream of consciousness, of bile and bullshit, and said, that's what we're going to film today. That's what we're going to do, everyone. And everyone just went, all right. They shrugged their shoulders and they said, well, he's Francis Ford Coppola, a.k.a. Franny Coppola. He's a cinematic genius, so he obviously knows what he's doing. He doesn't know what he's doing anymore, Chad. He's burnt out, all right? He's burnt out, and quite frankly, he should have retired decades ago. He should have retired before the start of the 21st century. Now, I'm going to explain to the best of my ability the plot of this movie to you guys, all right? So buckle up. I'm going to hold your hands, and I'm going to guide you on this journey through the wretched bowel movement that is this cinematic experiment. So this kind of takes place in an alternate present day of the American Republic. You follow this character played by Adam Driver called Cesar Catalina. He's this architect. He's clashing with the new Roman mayor. It's called this new city, this fictional city. It's basically New York, but instead of calling it New York, they call it New Rome. And he's clashing with the mayor of New Rome, Franklyn Cicero, played by Giancarlo Esposito, who, you know, has his own ideals and aspirations for the city itself. So Caesar, along with being a genius architect and, you know, typically reveling in debauchery and alcohol and drugs, he is the inventor of a new resource, a new metal called Megalon. Yes, chat. Yes, that Megalon. That Megalon indeed. I was happy to see that the Godzilla enemy kaiju Megalon still getting work. They name drop him a lot, so he definitely got paid a pretty penny. But he has invented a unlimited, a limitless resource called Megalon, this CGI metal that only he can control and harness. Like, they don't explain where it comes from. He just has it, right? And he uses it for all of his inventions and his architectural projects. He also controls time. He controls time. He can stop time at will at any point. No one questions it. No one questioned that he came up with this unlimited metallic resource, and no one questions his ability to, like, control time itself. They're like, it's, you know, whatever. He's fine. He's just really smart. And after a catastrophic event, which wasn't really that catastrophic, honestly, this old Soviet satellite crashed down and it destroyed part of the city. It really doesn't happen until, like, the next half of the movie, if that. Kind of feels like the last third. And Caesar, he feels like this is an opportunity to finally create Megalopolis, you know, his ideal dream utopian city based on his designs, but he has all these people that are preventing him from doing it, whether it be Giancarlo Esposito's, Cicero, or even members of his own family, you know, like Shia LaBeouf, who's running around like a goddamn maniac throughout this film, and a number of other people, Aubrey Plaza, who's just horny and crazy throughout the entire film, and that's pretty much the premise of the movie. That's what I glean from it, chat, and it's wretched. It's horrible. It's like, there's not like a moment in the movie where, like, in terms of the plot, where it's like, okay, I understand what's happening, and I'm like, that's fine. Like, I see the through line. It's just that everything surrounding the through line, everything that we get from point A, B, C, all the way down to Z is just annoying and just so gratuitous and boring. Like, this is a slog of a film, occasionally punctuated by unintentionally funny moments, unintentionally funny performance. Like, no one is good in this movie. Not a single one of these actors, like what's written for them or how they're directed, like, no one's coming out of this smelling like roses, chat. They all got the stench of Franny Coppola's bowel movement just lathering their bodies. There's no question about that. Adam Driver, who, again, I think is a talented actor, I'm going to tell you right now, Chad, he's dipping in the Tom Hardy territory for me. I'm kind of getting sick of him. It's like he has done some great work. He's done some great movies back in the day. I was thinking of, like, watching his performance, his ridiculous performance where he goes from randomly quoting William Shakespeare, like, out of the blue, like quoting Hamlet, you know, to be in or to not to be. That is the question, like, all of that. And then, like, everyone in the crowd, everyone is listening, going like, oh, brilliant indeed, like, just clapping. And then to him literally gyrating and jiggling and thrusting himself at the camera when he's on, like, an alcohol and drug binge, like, literally going like that, like a Looney Tune character. And we go from these extremes. We go from William Shakespeare quoting Adam Driver to, you know, time control Adam Driver to then, you know, drug-fueled substance abuse Adam Driver. You're going to get, it's one of three Adam Drivers, and none of them are great. All of them are vexing and very annoying, and honestly, I mean, just talking about it, yeah, he kind of has entered that just ridiculous, always in 11, grating Tom Hardy-esque caricature. Like, he was a good actor, but now I'm like, nah, I think he's kind of too far gone at this point, and it's really bothering me. Giancarlo Esposito, he's just kind of there. At first, he's just kind of like this populist mayor, and he's just like, what the city needs is just jobs, and it needs entertainment, it needs bread and circuses. Like, that's his whole thing. And at first, like, it's like, all right, that's like his position. And then later on, half the movie kind of becomes this doddering old man that can barely keep it together. Like, I guess he's supposed to represent the city itself. It's crumbling, and his body itself is crumbling, right? And he's not very good. We've seen him be great. We've seen him being intimidating. We've seen him play like a leader character who demands respect. Obviously in something like a Breaking Bad or its prequel series, Better Call Saul, where it's like, oh wow, this guy can command a room. But the lines in which he's given, there's nothing that demands your attention from him, and he just starts going on and on and on. Being the doddering old man that he eventually just kind of becomes towards the end of the film. You're thinking like, well, this is a waste of an actor. Natalie Emmanuel, who of course people probably best know her for her work in Game of Thrones, and I guess more recently in the Fast and Furious movies, and they've tried to kind of prop her up as this leading lady in a couple things. She did this vampire film a couple years ago called The Invitation. Not very good, very boring, very dull. I think she gives the worst performance of this movie, which is saying something because everyone is terrible across this film. At first, she's the one that feels like she's taken this material the most seriously, but for most of the time, she's like speaking a relatively normal voice, but there will be occasions where for whatever, like an entire scene, she'll just have like an odd accent. She'll just start talking like this. I was doing my research and I found something. I don't have like this almost kind of like faux New Jersey, New York accent. But then in the next scene, the accent will be completely gone. And it's just like, what happened? So my only thing is I could speculate. They filmed some of these sequences of her doing this, putting on this voice. And then they're like, you know what? This probably isn't working. Let's just drop it. So are we going to go back and refilm those scenes to give her a normal voice? No, just keep it in there. We got a fucking timetable, honey. We got to keep this shit going. And it's just weird. But yeah, she's wretched. So much of her dialogue and her delivery is unintentionally funny. She has some of the absolute worst lines in the movie. And I just don't think she's a very good actor. I just don't think she's a good actress at all. Some of these people in this movie are talented people. Her, I just don't think so. Aubrey Plaza, who, of course, people probably best know her for comedic work, obviously, things like, Parks and Rec, kind of got typecast as that, although she's been popping up in more stuff, and, she's started to show her range, and I do think she's a good actress. She plays a, kind of like a tabloid journalist in the movie, Wow Platinum, like almost like a Fox News personality, always trying to, drum up controversy where none really exist. Initially, she starts out as one of the lovers, the girlfriend to Adam Driver's Cesar character in the film. And she is always at 11 in this movie. She's always like her name is literally Wow Platinum, which she gave herself. And the things they have her say, like there's an exchange, it was brought up earlier in this particular stream where Adam Driver goes to visit her at her apartment, which is just all, gilded and glamorous, but it's all like messy, just like her mind, Jack, because she's insane. And there's this exchange between the two of them where she talks to Adam Driver and says, your problem is, Cesar, you're always so anal, but when it comes to me, I'm all about being oral, because she likes to perform oral sex chat. Like, that's the level of dialogue. That's the fantastic writing of Franny Coppola on full display. We get to Shia LaBeouf, who plays Claudio. Like, he literally skips and scampers into his first scene of the movie. He is just, he's at an 11. It's like they kept him on a leash. They just riled him up beforehand, gave him a raw piece of meat, and Francis Ford Coppola's like, go, Shia, go, run, be free. And then he never stops throughout the entire film. He is constantly running and jumping and humping any piece of ass that he can get his hands on. He's very much the Trump character of the film. Like, they literally say in the movie, there's just something, he just tells it like it is. He's an entertainer, and yeah, maybe he's kind of crass, but he's for the people. He's for the common man. It's like, I get it. He's your Trump character. Like, this movie has no subtext, chat. It's just all about the text. They're just reading it from the textbook itself. And listen, I have to admit, out of all the characters in this film, I mean, they do some really gross stuff with him in this movie. Like, hey, you guys ever wanted to see Shia LaBeouf's pubic hair? You ever want to see his dick shaft, the shadow of his dick shaft? Don't worry, Franny Coppola is hooking you up. It's there in the movie. But there are a couple of moments where he's just so ridiculous that you just can't help but laugh at him and his performance. And the other member of this messed up family, Jon Voight, who is the grandfather of Shia LaBeouf's character and is the uncle of Adam Driver's character. He's just drunk in the movie. He's just drunk, makes a public spectacle and fool of himself. So I guess very similar to, like, Jon Voight in real life. So I guess he's just kind of playing himself. He's just mumbling his dialogue. He always has, like, a glass of liquor in his hand, and he just stumbles from scene to scene to scene until the very end, where it's like, well, we actually have to have him do something important so we can get to the ending of the movie. Not that it really matters, where he strangely becomes, competent. But throughout the entire film, he just kind of plays this doddering drunk fool, and it's embarrassing. Lawrence Fishburne, outside of Natalie Emmanuel and Giancarlo Esposito, one of the few people of color in this film, he is the driver and manservant of Adam Driver. And he drives Adam Driver, chat. See what they did there? And he narrates the movie. He gets most of the text he has to read the Philosophy 101 textbook. He has to, read the middle schooler's introduction to Roman history. He has to do all those things. And he just drives, Adam Driver around. That's really all he does. But he's the black manservant. Yes, he is the mystical, magical black man. He's the mystical, magical Negro of the film. Actually, sadly not. I wish he even amounted that. I mean, he kind of is. But he doesn't even get any mystical, magical powers because Adam Driver took that from him, Chad. He's the one that has the control over time. He's the one that can create a limitless metallic resource that only he can control. But yeah, Lawrence Fishburne is absolutely wasting this. Tyler Shire is in this movie as well. Of course, has had a long relationship with Francis Ford Coppola, obviously appearing in many of his movies, famously in the Godfather films, the trilogy, although, like to talk about the film. But, Godfather Part 1 and Part 2. I don't really know what's going on with her. She's the mother of Adam Driver. And I'm not sure if she's in the throes of dementia. I can't tell, but she just really hates Adam Driver. Now, to be fair, I get it. His character is obnoxious and a bore. And so if I was his mother, I guess I would resent him too. But she just says, like, random shit. She's like, did you know that female alligators sometimes would eat their young? I wish I was an alligator. Like, that was the first line that she's, like, says in the movie to her son. And then by the end of the movie, she's like, I love you, son, because you made Megalopolis. You reached your dream. And he's like, I love you too, Mom, even though you've psychologically abused me for years. And then, like, the last character I want to touch on, I had no idea Dustin Hoffman was in this movie. And to be honest, Chet, I don't even know if Dustin Hoffman knows he's in the movie. Does he have, like, medical issues going on? Because it feels like, he sounds like he's had a stroke. Like, I had a very difficult time understanding him. Like, every scene that he has, which to be fair is very limited, they actually get rid of him. At one point, I didn't realize he was, like, killed off in the film. He's killed off, like, halfway through, and you, like, don't even realize it. It's like, oh, what happened to him? He sounds like, it's like he's like a less comprehensible version of a very drunk Nick Nolte in the movie. And it's very odd. And I don't know if he has some sort of medical condition or he's had a stroke or maybe he's dealing with substance abuse later in his life. I don't know. But anytime he appears on screen, he just sounds awful. Like, I kind of felt bad for him. I think someone needs to get involved and, like, help him out. It was just very bizarre. I almost felt, like, cruel having him in the movie itself. Now, when it comes to the film's aesthetic, so much of this movie is green screen, and it must be AI generated imagery, from the buildings to the flora and fauna to the nonsensical, headache-inducing dream sequences to the lights, chat. The lights in the movie aren't real. Like, if you actually look at the giant, like industrial lights outside, the headlamps of the cars, like none of those lights are real. They've been placed there by like the computer, like an AI or something. It does everything else in between. It's such an aesthetically ugly film. And I don't know what special effects house worked on this movie. CGI, I have no clue, but it looks like maybe to cut costs, because this movie costs $120 million. You don't see that at all. Like, none of that is on display. Maybe because they filmed in New York, because Francis Ford Coppola loves New York, and that's the only thing. And because it's so fucking expensive to film in New York, that's why no one does it anymore, because it's ridiculous, the costs. But I couldn't believe how wretched the imagery of this movie looked. Like, all those moments, like Adam Driver's a shitty architect. Because if he's like the shittiest architect everyone says is great, it's like, then why does everything look like it's about to like grow 17 hands and have like 6 fingers on each hand? It's just an ugly movie. And as I said before, the subtext of this movie, the allegories, it's not really. It's just text. It's just you so many of these characters feels like they're reading from a textbook. It's incredibly dull. It's ponderous. It's thoroughly obnoxious. And lastly, and probably just most importantly, this movie, I would define it as anti-cinema. And it makes me feel a way. It made me feel such a way that only select movies have made me feel in my lifetime. Like, there's a handful. Films like M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, or like any Friedberg and Seltzer comedy, half of Zack Snyder's, wretched filmography. After watching the movie and driving home, and I was like, typing up some of my notes and just thinking about it, like, I didn't want to watch movies afterwards. I didn't want to watch movies. Matter of fact, I just wanted to go for a walk. I just wanted to read a book. I wanted to do anything other than like watch me, even like a good movie. It's just like, no. And it's so ironic because, Francis Ford Coppola and, his fellow filmmakers of his generation, they have just constantly shit on genre filmmaking and genre filmmakers for decades. Those types of films and those types of filmmakers who like to cut through all the pomp and want to present something, entertaining and thrilling and fun. And, and Franny is one of those guys that said, well, those filmmakers don't make cinema. They make movies. And I would say, except, the occasions like when he does indulge in genre filmmaking, well, it's okay if I do it because, I'm just better than those people. Like this movie is so wretched. He's literally become the thing he is so often criticized, or he doesn't really understand what he's criticized anymore. Because this film fails when it comes to basic storytelling. It fails when it comes to presenting subtext. It fails when it comes to presenting interesting characters and themes. It certainly fails when it comes to presenting spectacle, because the spectacle feels so cheap and inauthentic. It feels like it was created by an AI program, an artificial intelligence. It doesn't feel handcrafted. It's a disgusting movie. It's a thoroughly disgusting movie, and it's one of those, the more I think about it, the more I realize, like, yeah, this really is one of the worst movies that I've seen this year, if not the worst film this year. One of the worst of the decade, and easily the worst film of Franny Coppola's career, which is saying something. It's the guy that made Jack.
Left, right, left. Hey, Ed, are you Dr. Kevorkian?
Yeah.
Ah.
Okay. He made Jack, chat. And I think Jack is a fucking masterpiece compared to this wretched piece of shit. But that's my thoughts on Franny Coppola's Megalopolis. Maybe, just, this is my thoughts, chat. Maybe he should have spent less time harassing his female extras and actors, and maybe more time actually being a filmmaker. But that's just me. What about you guys? Did you guys like Franny Coppola's Megalopolis? Were you more mixed on it? Or did you downright despise it like I did? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
What about you guys? What do you think of Franny Coppola's Megalopolis? Simply Carly, hello. It's been a hot minute, Simply Carly. How you doing? Welcome back. I hope you're having a very nice day. Good to see you. I just finished my review for Franny Coppola's Megalopolis. Ooh, it's a stinky. I'll wait until Master Pancake riffs on Twitch. I think it might be the best way to watch it. Like, the movie occasionally is punctuated by unintentionally funny moments. Like, you're not laughing with the movie, you're laughing at it. But they're so few and far between. It was funny because like I was watching the movie, you know, and the first half I'm like, okay, this is bad. This is pretty bad. But it was like, this isn't the worst movie I saw. But honestly, it's that last third that really just started to make me angry. Not even angry. Just feel bored. Just feel bored and disappointed and frustrated. That's more the word. Just frustrated. It's like, can we just get on with this? Can we just get to the end? You know? And eventually they do. And like nothing they achieve, nothing they set out to say, I feel like is done well. It's executed well. It's just like, well, there you go. There's the ending, I guess. And it's like, all right. It makes you, Deadpool, you're correct. This is that's why it's anti-cinema. It's thoroughly 100% anti-cinema. It makes you feel defeated by the end. It makes you just want to go to sleep. It makes you not want to watch movies. And I don't think there's anything worse than a film that makes you not want to watch movies. Like, that to me, along with just being boring, is the worst thing you could possibly achieve with a film. But Francis Ford Coppola has done it. It's so interesting. Like, this movie is, I think you can almost see it as a pretentious first-time film students like concept film in a way. But that's like done at the early part of the career. They take their lumps, they learn their lessons. Like, all right, let me step back and realize what I did, and you know, address these things, and I can make something better. But it's fascinating that it doesn't come at the start of Francis Ford Coppola's career, Franny Coppola's career. It comes at the end of his career, because I would be shocked if he makes anything after this. I don't know what studio would want to touch him. I mean, no studio did. For obvious reasons. And it's one of those things, chat, where it's like, you know, on here, we criticize the studio system. We criticize a lot of these studios, whether it be a Sony, a Disney, a Warner Brothers, a Lionsgate, anywhere in between. All these executives, they don't know what they're doing. But there are occasions where these executives do know what they're doing and where they're right. And in hindsight, they were all right. They were all right about this because of what it does. Because of just how they saw the writing on the wall of this movie. That's why no one wanted to touch it. No one wanted to distribute this film. It would be at a loss because they knew it's so bad. And the only reason why maybe some of them weren't, like, some of the, came out later, it's like, yes, this is pretty bad. But some of them were like, well, it's experimental. As soon as you say it's experimental, it's like, that's not a good sign. If that's the kindest thing that you can say, it's experimental, or it's, oh God. I mean, there's so many various words that you can talk about. Ambitious. They always like to say the word. It's bring me ambitious. Like, I don't think this movie. I really disagree with the fact that people saying this is ambitious. This is not ambitious filmmaking whatsoever. It really isn't. I don't see a single moment or frame in this film that makes it feel like it's ambitious. Not at all. Pretentious, which is a word I really don't like to use, but pretentious, yes. Obnoxious, yes. Full of itself. Yes. As if a head is firmly stuck up someone's ass? Yes. But this is not ambitious. It's, Bugstaff, it's sloppy filmmaking. It's made by a man who has not grown as a filmmaker, who has reverted and has become worse over time, and has not looked at what other filmmakers who have just that drive to create something like really special, or that's fun or entertaining or thought-provoking. Just, he hasn't looked at any those things because he thinks, well, I'm the guy that made The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2 and all these other movies. It's like, you're not that guy anymore. I don't think you've been that guy for decades. And it's on full fucking display. Big Smith, I can tell you really liked it. It's masturbatory. It's masturbatory. Yeah, avant-garde. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's exactly. It's like it's not. Those are the words that some people are throwing out there to like people are defending it or whatever, saying, "Oh, it's avant-garde." It's like I really just don't think it is. It's sloppy. Yeah, more like ambiguous. Exactly. Honestly, he might just be too old. He came from a different era and he's stuck in that time. Yeah, he really is. And it's just one of those passion projects where because he's been working on this for 50 years, nearly 50 years. It's just his vision, and he doesn't. And he's also one of those. He's like some of those other filmmakers we've talked about, chat. Whether it be a George Lucas, a Steven Spielberg, a Ridley Scott, where they've gotten so old, they've gotten so complacent, they've gotten so lazy, and they've just surrounded themselves with yes men that they're not taking anyone's opinion into account, and they're not hearing other ideas. It's just my way or the highway, and I think that's affected their abilities to tell stories. And it's the case of Francis Ford Coppola, and he's delivered something that is just awful through and through. Edgy. I actually didn't mind it. Don't hit me. I won't hit you, Edgy Berserker. Witness me. Good to see you, Edgy. How you doing? Well, Kevin just got back from the theater. I want to hear your opinions on the movie, Edgy. And let me say, listen, as we all know, everything's subjective. Though I may not have liked it, man, I really didn't like it. If you happen to like it, if you didn't mind it, that's totally fine. I'm actually curious to hear your opinions. Did Shia do his no in the film? No, he was too busy humping. Oh, man. Megalopolis is literally just about Coppola trying to force through his artist vision. He just likes Adam Driver's character, a punish. Yeah, he's a punish artist, yeah. Oh, man. Yeah, Shia again. Yeah, hit him again. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf gets shot in the ass by a bunch of arrows in the film. That does happen. It's very funny. Compare this with Coppola's first movie, Dimension 13, which he made in 1963 when he was 23, fresh off. I haven't seen that movie. I can't say. Run free, run free. He does. Edgy, does Shia LaBeouf not run free in this movie? Like when we're first introduced to him, he's just skipping and scampering around. It's like, look at him. He's like off the leash. They gave him like a raw piece of meat, or it's like you gave like a little kid, like gave a toddler like, his first like piece of candy, or he just ate all the goddamn candy and he's just running loose. He's just jumping off the wall. That's Shia LaBeouf in this movie, except horny. That's how I would describe him in the film. Oh God! But yes, I was not a fan of Megalopolis. I think at this point, chap, right now, this is my worst movie of 2024. It's my worst movie of 2024. Like, there's several movies which, were fighting for the top spot. And Frosted, Rebel Moon Part 2, Madam Web, Argyle. It's just like this one for me, though. This is the worst one. I'm going to keep watching Golf on the Apocalypse Now and pretend Megalopolis. Okay, now, I will say, there were some parts I was like, okay, that would have been edited. Oh, that could have been edited out. I'm not making a movie of the year, but I thought it was fine. That's fair. I think that's totally okay. I'm actually curious to hear your thoughts on the film when we do our Carton Farting on Wednesday. I'm very excited about that. But yeah. Night Swim's up there, but it's not. That's like my bottom 5 for this year. Out of my top 10 worst. I guess those bad movies tried to be, they did. I don't know. I think Rebel Moon's staying things. Rebel Moon's really bad. That's like number 2 or 3 for me this year. It's really goddamn bad. Yeah. And like, I think at the end of the decade when I look back and like, I think Megalopolis definitely will be in my like top 10 worst movies of the decade. But Rebel Moon Part 1 and 2, which I'll just count as Rebel Moon, I think that'll be up there too. Woo, baby chat. But there you go. My review for Megalopolis. Very curious to hear other people's thoughts and opinions on this too.